Realignment.
Yeah. So good evening, everyone. Here we are on the Metamorphosis platform with our episode number 4 of Edu Talks, and where we invite professionals from different sectors connecting with education and corporate and bringing awareness into the education sector, how vocational trainings and how other different kind of learnings can be important for the educators and through the education. So today we have a special guest who is into professional and business growth coach, and I would like to invite Ms. Mitakshara Shrigaonkar. Welcome to Metamorphosis on this Edu Talk show on episode number 5 podcast. And before I introduce you and about you, I will tell the technical to just show the video of the Metamorphosis and then we will proceed from there. So Laliji, over to you.
अगर कोई कर सकता है तो मैं क्यों नहीं, क्या है उनमें ऐसा जो मुझ में नहीं। अगर कोई कर सकता है तो मैं क्यों नहीं, क्या है उनमें ऐसा जो मुझ में नहीं। झांक ले अपने भीतर खुद से आ पूछ ले, कैसी चाहे जिंदगी खुली आंखों से देख ले। मुट्ठियों को भींच गए, सांसों को खींच गए, मुट्ठियों को भींच गए, सांसों को खींच गए। सबसे टकराने को, शिखर पर जाने को मैं तैयार हूँ, मैं तैयार हूँ, मैं तैयार हूँ, मैं तैयार हूँ। मैं तैयार हूँ, मैं तैयार हूँ, मैं तैयार हूँ। मुश्किलें हो कैसी भी मेरे हौसलों से कम है, अंधेरों को चीर देंगे इतना दम है। मुश्किलें हो कैसी भी मेरे हौसलों से कम है, अंधेरों को चीर देंगे इतना दम है। आओ हाथ बढ़ाए, कुछ करके दिखाना है, सारे बहानों को आज से आग लगाना है। मुट्ठियों को भींच गए, सांसों को खींच गए, मुट्ठियों को भींच गए, सांसों को।
Thank you, Laliji. You can make me the host. And over to the session of today. Mitakshara Shrigaonkar is a professional and a business growth coach, corporate trainer, and consultant. Her domain in corporate training is project management and associated topics like conflict management, which is a need of the hour. Prior to starting her independent journey in 2018, she has worked in the pharmaceutical sector through role of business development and project management for 8+ years. In her present coaching and consulting practices too, she helps her clients navigate through challenges in career and business growth by using concepts of project management and coaching with other modalities. And not to forget, she is a tarot card reader also. Hope I'm right. Yeah, so over to you, Mitakshara. And for the topic of today, I would like you to highlight some of the things that what is actually project management and other modalities that you spoke about, and about you in short. Over to you, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Sonal, for introducing me over here and bringing me on your show on Metamorphosis. It's really a pleasure to talk to the global audience as we do here today. A little brief about me in continuation with what you have already mentioned. So I am a professional growth coach, and I help working professionals and business owners to help them unlock the challenges and go to the next level. I'm also a corporate trainer and a facilitator, where my domain, as I mentioned earlier, is into project management, conflict management, a little bit of leadership, behavioral skills, and all. And yes, as a tarot consultant, I use tarot as a tool for personality development and helping people resolve their own challenges through multiple situations, because every situation is different. Now, coming to project management, I would like to share this particular topic in a new light. Okay, so what happens is whenever we talk about project management, there is a general idea, a general notion that project management is only suitable or required by a certain sectors like industries, like your construction or information technology, where the agile methodology is being used. And nowadays it is making inroads in new product development for pharmaceuticals, as I come from the pharmaceutical sector. So generally people feel that either it is suitable for industrial sectors or where there is some sort of technical engineering work that is going on. But my message to all the listeners today, to all the audience today, is that project management is a management concept, which is definitely a bundle of all those all those concepts, all those topics, which are very well applicable to our lives as well. And that is exactly where I'm here to bridge the gap between the two. So, Sonal ji, I have just a short presentation, very limited 3 slides, just for sharing it for
Yeah.
viewers. May I,
Yeah, I'll share
share?
I'll share the host rights for you.
Yes, please.
Just give me 1 minute. I don't know why I'm not able to do it. Just give me 1 minute.
No problem. In the meanwhile, let me just keep on sharing about my idea about bringing this topic today. So when I was working as a corporate professional and when I started my journey into
Hi.
project management gradually, I observed that all these little concepts are very much applicable to our daily lives as well. Now, whenever we talk about a project, ideally, as per the definition given by the PMBOK, which is PMP by Project Management Institute USA, which is a global standard for project management, their project is defined as an entity or a set of activities, an endeavor, which is temporary, which has a start and a finish. So today we might think that, okay, building has to be constructed, that is a project, or a new product needs to be developed, that is a project. Well, that is true. And of course, to monetize, there are operations which happen. Now, a very simple example is that a shampoo or a soap or any moisturizing lotion that we are using today, that is being manufactured in factory. And these are the manufacturing operations for which the project has already been undertaken long back, where the new product development was done. Now, this is the definition of project management as far as the industry is concerned. But the project management also has these 10 key elements because of which the project survives, because of which the project moves forward right from the start to finish throughout the life cycle. But these 10 elements, which I'll be sharing shortly, these are very much applicable in any kind of activity, whether you are undertaking a project or not. So now coming to my presentation, I'm going to...
Yeah, you are the host now.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, so coming up now, so my title is Life as a Project and You Are the Project Manager. Okay, and because I've selected this title because we are going to use project management as a set of concepts for improving our daily productivity, improving our routine, and ensuring that we are resourceful in our work, whatever we do. Now, coming to our project management principles. Okay, so these are the 10 key elements which are important for any project to succeed. Starting with the stakeholders, that is, which all entities, organizations, or groups are going to be affected by your project or are going to be creating an impact on your project. Okay, so it can be the government, it can be regulatory authorities, it can be your customers, it can be vendors. In case of school and institution related projects, they are your students, the students' parents, teachers, administrators, working staff, administrative staff, everything. Then you have the scope of work, which talks about the set of activities which are exactly required to reach that project objective. Now, let's take an example. If you are if you are going to bake a cake in your house, okay, so the activities for baking the cake would be soaking your ingredients, kneading the dough, putting it for fermentation, preparing the oven, preparing the garnishing, preparing your icing, and then finally, after it is freshly baked, you decorate the cake and present it to your audience, to whoever is going to take it. Here, you will not have the activities which are necessary for making a fried rice, you know. So the in-scope activities are all those baking activities which are there. So similarly, on the industrial scale also, scope is defined as those activities which are necessary for achieving that particular objective of the project. Next, you come with procurements where you need materials, you need some resources which you do not have in-house. That needs to be purchased. Coming to the next thing, you have risks. Whenever you're doing something new, there are going to be certain factors which may come against you, which you may not have planned for. And for that, you need to have sufficient risk reserves. You need to have some contingency buffer with respect to time as well as money. Okay. Then comes to time, where time management or schedule management is important, because a project will be only successful if you are able to complete it within the stipulated time, so that the outcome can be made use of in any field. Then you have the budget, that is the money that is going to be required for spending on the resources, the money that is going to be required for buying the licenses or for making other arrangements. Next, we have the quality, that is, are we creating a good quality product? Is our cake really, really edible? Is it in within the standards? Is it at par with something like we have in ribbons and balloons or Monginis or any other thing? Then we have the team. Who is going to work on your project? Who are your people? Are you going to hire new people, or you are going to manage those activities within the existing set of people? Next is the communication, and in association with that, the documentation. Now, these two are absolutely important, because without these two, the other things cannot move. Unless and until you communicate about what you need to ensure that you reach the goal of the project. You have to communicate with the right set of team members. You need to communicate about how many resources do we have so that we can manage our activities within the budget. And to complement all of that, there has to be documentation where you have the written records. And let me share with you that all these 10 key elements are interrelated to each other. In any stage of the project, you cannot really drop the importance of one particular aspect. Otherwise, the other things are going to be damaged. Like, for example, in the cake baking example, if you do not communicate about whether the client wants an eggless cake or they are okay with eggs, the quality of eggless will not be served if you put an egg into it, right? It will be completely against the quality standards. If you do not communicate about the flavor, you will not be able to take the procurements, because you do not know which flavor, which nuts, which fruits exactly are you going to procure from the market. For this, you need to communicate. Your team has to ask the right stakeholders. You know, you have these shows like the Ultimate Cake Off or Fabulous Cakes and all, where you have the stakeholders who are going to note down the requirements according to which the team has to bake the cake, right? So all these things are put together in the form of project management, so that whatever new initiative the company is getting into, that gets to the mark, we reach the goals, and that particular outcome can be further used for monetization. Now, you must be thinking that what is the connection of all these industrial activities and industrial concepts with the first title slide that I showed, that life is a project and you are the project manager. Life has a start and a finish. Every person is different. Everybody will have different set of goals. Everybody will have a different set of strengths and weaknesses. I talk about personal SWOT analysis in all my coaching and counseling sessions, coaching and consulting sessions. So now here we are going to make use of the concepts in our personal lives, whether you are a student, whether you are a teacher, whether you are a corporate employee, whether you are a bank employee, or whether you are a freelancer like me, or whether you are a chef at a restaurant or a manager of a restaurant. So whether or not you are going to be involved in projects, or it could be operations, all these things are important for you to note, so that you can plan your activities perfectly well, and you will be able to make the best possible use of all the resources that are available. thereby increasing your productivity. And to ensure that we stick to the time, I have picked up two particular aspects from the set. That is, one is the time, that is a schedule, and the second is the communication. Because these things are are of utmost importance in our daily lives. So when it comes to time management, how do we do that? Similar to what big to reach, where are we starting from? And according to break the objective into smaller pieces, smaller tasks, so that they can be chopped off gradually. And for that, once when you do that, what happens whenever you have those smaller task packets, you can assign the time durations so that all those smaller activities can be completed one by one and people do not get overwhelmed. Now, let me take an example specifically from the point of view of students. Now, preparing for an exam will also be like a project, correct? Or making a submission, completing an assignment of it can also be looked at as a project. So what do you do? What do you do for completing an assignment? You need to first understand what is the assignment all about. How will you then break it up in chunks? One is you will need to do the preparation work. You will need to read up some things. You will need to possibly do some industrial visit. You might need to do some survey around. Then after the survey is done, you might need to look at all the findings, put them in a proper structure. Then the next set of tasks is to put that in a proper report. And finally, before you submit, it will be like a correction, a proofreading, so that what tasks have been done are there as per the quality. And of course, you are going to present the data accurately. So breaking the task, breaking the bigger tasks into smaller ones, then you sequence the activities. What needs to be done first so that the next activity can be completed well within time. And accordingly, when we are looking at time management, we have to understand that whatever time limit you have given for each and every task should not be really tampered with. It is in the best interest of all individuals to complete those tasks in a timely manner so that you don't have an end moment rush at the 11th hour. Otherwise, what happens? The quality of your submission is going to get damaged. Okay. Now, when it comes to time management, we as individuals are subjected to multiple distractions in life, right? And now we have the mobile phone where there are games, notifications, pop-ups, social media. So and so has liked your post, so and so has commented on your image, and so on. Then someone rings a doorbell, someone gives you some other task. So what do students, what do young adults do? For that, there is something called the Eisenhower matrix. You can definitely search it in the web sources. You will get what an Eisenhower matrix is. But here it is all about prioritizing whatever is urgent and important at the same time. So you have the matrix of 4. So whatever is urgent and important, you do it now. You prioritize, you give it topmost priority. And whatever is not urgent and not important, you might need to recheck whether this is really required to be done. Or if not, if it is urgent and not important and vice versa, you may want to delay it a bit or give it to someone else. You may need to delegate it. Because at the end of the day, time is a very valuable resource and it has to be used wisely. Now, they say time is money. But from my perspective and from the industry that I come from and from the experiences that I've got, I would say time is more important and more precious than money because time once gone is gone. You do not have a time machine where you can retrieve that lost time back. See, what happens is a business owner may incur some loss in a particular financial year. That loss can be recovered by doubling the efforts in the next subsequent years. But the time that you give in, and if it is wasted, if it is not being used in a proper way, then it is really an injustice. And that's why time is the biggest and the most valuable asset, which is an intangible asset that can never be retrieved. And that is why it is very important to prioritize your tasks on a day-to-day basis. Now, for this, you can have multiple methods, like you have a to-do list. Nowadays, the Google Sheets, Excel sheets, they serve as a wonderful tool. I personally use them. putting in my tasks, assigning the priorities, trying to set deadlines for this, and then sequencing the activities. Or there can be something called the Pomodoro technique. Now,
Yeah.
this Pomodoro technique can be very well useful. It can be used by students, where you are dividing your time in blocks of 30 minutes, where 25 minutes is the working time or the study time, whatever, and 5 minutes is a break time for a quick refresher, where you can just take a walk around the block. You can just have a cup of coffee, have water, come back. In those 25 minutes, you can just assign your respective tasks. I have actually done that when I was having a lot of responsibility of creating content for one of the programs I was associated with. But this works because this helps us to reduce that load. We don't get overwhelmed with that entire mammoth task which we feel is in front of us. And lastly, with respect to time management, respecting the time of self and others is going to be very important. Right? So if you have given time to somebody, make sure you make it on time. If not, at least make it a point to tell them if it is going to get cancelled. Because like you, even they will have priorities, even they will have some urgencies. So if you inform them in time, then they can, set up some other priority, and even they can maintain their productivity levels. Now coming to the next concept, that is communication management. Here we are not talking per se about the soft skills or the confidence in talking, but we are talking about communication as a tool in the project management. So number one, why this communication is necessary? Because in order to ensure that we finish the tasks on time, thereby completing our bigger objective in time, we reach our goal in time, the right message has to be sent to the right set of people at that particular moment. Because if you don't communicate, other people will not have clarity about what needs to be done. And specifically, if there is a collective task, let's say a group assignment, or maybe a chain of activities where activity of one person is dependent upon the activity of somebody else, then this particular communication has to be done very, very nicely. Because if not, then again, we are going to lose out on the time. What happens if we do not communicate properly? Number one, the wrong message could get absorbed, because of which people don't know what to do. There could be redundancy, that is, same task is being done by multiple people at the same time, thereby wastage of man hours. Man hours means one man working for one hour is equal to 1 man hour, right? So for that, you need to ensure that you need to plan your communication properly. If you have to ask for an extension, if you need to ask for help from somebody, talking to them in advance will help even them to assign some time for you. And that is how you can seek help, you can complete your tasks. Next very important point is cutting down on the over communication. Now let me ask a very important question to all of you here. How many times do we have the urge of telling the same thing to different people repeatedly? And why does that happen? Because we feel excited. We feel excited, we want to be heard, but then we have to ask, how is this really going to serve our bigger goal? If it is taking too much of time, then we might need to cut down our communication and limit it to only what is required, right? Next is using the right mode of communication. In urgencies, call. If it is not so urgent, but you just need to keep somebody informed, then you can give a message. Now, this is very important because many people possibly, they might interchange this thing, right? For example, when there is an urgency, they might end up sending a message and expecting the other person to read. Now, what has happened is because of we people being so much dependent upon digital communication, and we are expecting fast responses, we are indirectly assuming that whenever I send a message, the other person will be there to respond at the right time. But this is not true. And even we in our work also, we have to decide whether do we have to respond to every message at that particular moment, or we can pass it on, or we can delay it a bit. So if there is an urgency, pick up the phone and call. If it is going to be some message where it can be delayed, then it is okay to send a message. If it is involving any approvals or any figures like approvals or budget, or if you want to send some important document, then the email communication is the best, because WhatsApp and all important documents can be lost. And this reminds me of one particular assignment that was doing as a consultant, where it was for a pre-sales team which used to be located in a call center. So there was a lot of communication gap that was happening. And when I tried to investigate, when I did the gap analysis, it was evident that people were using WhatsApp as an official mode of communication. See, now WhatsApp can be used for urgencies where there's a constant movement, where you need to tell, okay, fine, go ahead with the creative in a digital marketing agency, or maybe the team at the factory is trying to tell the research and development people that, hey, we are starting with the batch manufacturing today. All that is fine for quicker updates, but never use this for document sharing, especially where there are technical details, because a lot of time can be lost in retrieving those documents and trying to make sense and connect the dots later on if it is not done at the right time. The fourth point here is structuring your messages. Short and sweet is a key of the hour today. It's a need of the hour, because if we end up sending long messages, people might just get lost in translation. And this has happened. I've seen this happening, where long messages have actually changed the path of a particular project, only to realize after 2 months that this is a wrong strategy that we have used. This can happen even in our daily lives. And that is exactly why we are saying, when necessary, try to keep the message as short as possible, rather than, giving it a flowery language, right? Rather than giving too many unnecessary details. And that is exactly what I meant by cutting down on the communication. And lastly, communication management is necessary for prevention of gaps in understanding. Now, this is somewhere between your behavioral as well as techno-commercial and managerial aspects. Why? Because people have different behaviors. One person might say something, the other person might understand something else, and there can be the conflict later on. To avoid these kind of conflicts, it is better to first, number one, structure your messages and communicate properly, explain whenever required in a short and sweet manner, so that everybody is on the same page. Now, all these are connected to your other aspects in your life. So time management and communication management is connected to the stakeholders in your life. Now, all the people who are listening to this video, to this YouTube live, I would like to ask, who are the stakeholders in your life? Okay. Who are the stakeholders? For a student, it could be the teachers, it could be their parents, it could be their friends, their peers, their group members who are going to do the assignment in common. For a working professional, it is a family members, because we are talking of life as in general. Their bosses, their peers, maybe all their team members. For a business owner, it is the banks from where the loans could be taken, the suppliers, their clients, their teams. Okay. For educators, again, you have the Ministry of Education, you have the teachers, you have principals of schools, head of institutions, deans, everybody, right? Because ultimately, whenever we are talking about anything that needs to be implemented, there has to be an amalgamation, there has to be a connection between all those 10 key elements that we saw earlier. Okay. Now let us take a few examples. I've already given you an example of baking, right? But let's say there is a project that it needs to be initiated in school, where the young students are going to be taught how to create a compost of the cafeteria waste and create some green manure. Now, this is a project. So imagine who would be the stakeholders. Number one, definitely the school authorities, school administration, to identify which part of the school this activity will be undertaken. It will have to be undertaken at the far end of the school ground, so that if there is any odor of decomposition, it should not affect the daily lives of the school staff as well as the students. You will have the canteen staff who will be specifically instructed to segregate the waste, dry waste and the wet waste. You will have the students who will need to be taught the theory first. You may need to get in somebody from the expert as a subject matter expert. You will have parents who will need to be informed that their students, their respective children need to come prepared with the proper set of equipments like your gloves, your masks, and proper protection wear, and so on. If you're going to look at a project of organization of an industrial visit, then obviously the HR department of the company where you intend to go, maybe people who are going to arrange for travel, all these people become your stakeholders, right? Timely communication is required so that there shouldn't be any jumble of dates. If you are looking at a house renovation project, now something which I'm going to have soon, the planning is on the way and I'm the project manager in my own house now. So you have the interior designer, the plumber, the electrician, carpenter, people who are going to supply you with all the ceramics and all the cement and all those things, right? Your own people, internal people. Now, when the kitchen is going to be renovated, the person who is there in the kitchen, who cooks the most, they are going to be your important stakeholders. Their requirements are going to be important. What should be the height of the kitchen platform? How many drawers do you need? What kind of utensils would be stored where? All these things need to be taken care of. Lastly, the family functions. There again, it's a project where stakeholders are your people, caterers, people who will be doing the gifting, your relatives, and maybe the people who are going to make arrangements at the resort and all. So in short, the reason for me to give you all these examples are because we are going to have multiple types of projects, big, small, complex, simple, and these very principles can help us to maneuver through these things very, very easily. And now when it comes to life in general, when I said that life is a project and you are a project manager, so each of you will have your own set of goals. And specifically students, when they graduate from colleges, they are exposed to different environmental situations and conditions. They will be taking up different ideas about different career paths and advancements in their professional growth, right? So in that case, what happens? They will have to set their own goals. They will have to identify their own stakeholders. They will have to set up a time limit for that. They will also need to understand what are the resources, or how much money do they have, or how much money do they need to make. So in short, they will need to use all these principles, all these concepts. And last but not the least, prioritizing which stakeholder needs to be given what type of importance, what level of importance, how much time to spend on what activity. You need to manage your hobbies. You need to maintain some time buffers. You need to have an agile approach these days because circumstances are changing. We are in this VUCA world where a lot of ambiguity is there. There's a lot of volatility, and always we might not end up at the right plan. We might plan for something, but something else may come up. So how do we really maneuver through these changes? For that, the very concepts of project management will be applicable. And with this, my presentation is over. Now we can go for some discussions with Sonal here. Thank you.
I guess ma'am has gone somewhere. Okay. It was really very nice hearing you, ma'am. And nice to learn all the time management. And can I get more some tips on the time management?
Sure. So, like I said, for time management, the best thing to do is create a to-do list.
To-do
Because
list,
what happens is when we are, just in general, when we are moving around in our own house. Now, I can take my own example. We will have so many things getting piled up, right? So many things coming up one by one, one by one. And how much can you really depend upon yourself to just remember everything? And what happens is why I say to-do list, because there could be a very minor task, but if that task gets, dismissed or it gets forgotten, then you never know that there is some big thing which depends upon that task.
100%.
For that, a to-do list, no matter how small that task it is better to create a to-do list, right?
Yeah.
And, this reminds me of something which I heard long back. When I was a little girl, I used to listen to this statement a lot from many elders, They used to think, they used to say, oh, I don't even have time to think about this. Now I know the importance of why you need time to think. Because even what you communicate with yourself, the thoughts that you get, these are
Yeah.
important, because unless and until you think, you cannot plan your actions, right? So even sometimes I also have to create a to-do list of what all things need to be sorted out in my mind. I
Right.
need to create some new content, or maybe I need to make a shopping list. So sometimes I have to make a to-do list of some list that I need to make so that I don't miss out on things. And all this comes to me because I have served as a project management professional in one of the most regulated industries, that is a pharmaceutical sector.
Really nice, ma'am. Very good tips you have given, ma'am. And even I am working and with a NGO. I have my own NGO, Helping Hands Foundation, and even I have to manage so much things that I get so confused sometimes that how can I manage so many things? Same thing as you told that time ही नहीं मिलता है मुझे बिल्कुल. I don't have any time, and even my words relate to me. कि whatever I speak, I am just getting that only, that I am not getting a time.
Yes. So time, definitely, it is a very valuable resource. And as we grow, we only get to know the importance as we grow. See, when we are children, we don't need to worry too much because there are elders taking care of us. But once when we are independent, especially, I have started giving a lot of importance to this statement that time is more important than money ever since I became independent in December 2018. Because every single minute of my life then is important. And when I say that, it is also necessary for individuals to allocate time for their own detachment, for nothingness, for giving a mental break. And what happens is we don't get that if we have allotted a time. We all need our set of entertainment to unwind, to relax. Maybe some comedy show where we do not need to put our brains into it. And why is that required? Because every other moment we are struggling to meet our goals, complete our tasks. And what happens, this is a tip which I would like to give to everybody, big, small, everyone, that if you have allotted one particular hour of a day, for maybe sleeping, you want to take a nap after a very hectic day, you may need to just want to take a walk in the nature. Try to give it to yourself. Tabhi aakar, if somebody comes and says that, hey, you are anyways free, let's do this. Ask yourself, how much do you need your time? Because we often tend to let go of our own time and then there is stress pile up. Yeah.
Ma'am, you are mute.
The first PPT, the first slide that we shared, I think where you had mentioned the columns of procurement and communication and all. So how interdependent each other are, like if we combine all that in the education, how can you connect?
So yes, first of all, to begin with, they are interdependent. You can't really remove one particular element. Now let us take the example of the school project that I said, that maybe the students are being taught to create a green manure using composting the cafeteria waste. Okay. Now what happens if you don't communicate about the requirements of your protection masks and your gloves, okay, and your medical kit? There is a risk that someone might get infection. Okay. Because of which the quality of work that is put by the people, if someone falls ill, then the amount of work that needs to be completed within the stipulated time, that needs to be hurried up, and maybe the quality may not be served as required, right? So what needs to be done? Communication needs to be done at the right time to the parents, that they are supposed to procure, or at least make arrangements so that the school can procure. So there is where procurement is related to risks, related to communication, related to the stakeholders, related to the team, and so on.
Wonderful. I mean, you have explained each and everything so beautifully that each and every column that you explained is actually applicable in education, where people don't take consideration into the aspect project management, team management, and all these things are interrelated to each other, combining into education. And I think these are the skills we need to teach the children also, because in the next 10 years, they need to be ready with all these skills. So
very much. And I see that project management, as I mentioned in the beginning, that it is not just applicable only for bigger companies where the industrial scale projects are going on. These are managerial skills which can help them become good leaders in the future.
I mean, a lot of schools are now posting about their, I don't know, what do you call that, investiture ceremony and all. And then अभी elections हुए तो सब elections का अपना डालने लगे, फिर investiture हुए तो सब investiture डालने लगे. So if you start training kids through these things, that they are prepared for the unseen things in the life, तो उनको ये visualization रहता है, हाँ ये हमने सीखा था, ये हमने पढ़ा था कहीं. So teachers should include these as the children grow. Because I think after standard 3rd and 4th, kids are very smart to pick up these skills.
Yes. And something which comes to my mind right now, very impromptu, that, and because I deal with the personality types of individuals in my tarot consultancy sessions and all, that every individual is of a different type, you know. Now, out of it, some people may be extreme perfectionists. Now, if the kids are made perfectionists in the beginning, it can be disastrous for them in the long run. And there is where project management, the concept of risk management can be useful. And specifically the agile project management, these concepts can be useful there because they should be taught how to, you know, adapt to changing circumstances.
Right.
Because
So what else are you into? Like, how did you come into the tarot reading and what made you take up tarot reading? That is, I think, not a requirement in education, but yes, now many people are venturing into this, and it's a blind faith kind of a thing कि tarot reader ने बोला है तो ये सही होगा. What, how true it is?
So let me clear out some misconception over here. So first of all, I started tarot reading more than a decade back. So I have been reading cards since 2012. Okay. And of course, that time it was just a mere hobby for me. I was working and all. But I started realizing one thing as I started reading reading for people around, for friends, relatives, and colleagues and all, pro bono. That time I understood that there is a lot of connection between the personality types based on the date of births. You know, in our Hindu numerology and all, we have something called the Bhagyang, or the life path number, and the Mulang, that is your personality number, that actually determines how a person is. Whether a person is extremely nurturing, whether the person is an extreme, you know, my way or the highway types, or the person is a friend, philosopher, guide, or something, or a very creative person. So now what happens is when tarot is combined with psychology, you know, to help people understand their own personality traits and understand that, okay, in this situation, a particular person might behave in a certain way, which is either helpful or it is not helpful. There is where I guide people that, okay, in this situation, you need to change your stance a little bit. Or a person says that I'm stressful about this situation. I say, okay, you are stressful because the world is dynamic right now, but you are extreme perfectionist. You're holding on to something which is not suitable to the environment. So maybe you need to change your stance. So the point that I'm trying to make is that what you said, that just because a tarot reader has said, so this is going to happen, try to introspect, because most of my sessions, they are actually eye-openers and the real thought process begins after that. Where most of the people do not, they may not be able to relate to it. So I always tell them, sit with a pen and paper, note down the points and reflect over it, introspect. And to my experience, those people who could not relate to it earlier have come to me after 1 month, 2 months and all, and have they said, Mitakshara, you know, you said something like this and it has actually worked. Now, how do I actually use project management into this is, I look at the SWOT analysis for the personality types, which is very important because when you're actually forming teams, you look at people's strengths and weaknesses and try to pair people as per their energy level to have better functioning teams. See, two aggressive people, if you put them together, people will end up fighting.
Definitely.
If you put two extremely gentle people, work will never move on. So you have to actually have, you know, those kind of mix and matches. Now that principle, if I combine with neuro-linguistic programming and tarot in my consultancy sessions, I'm actually able to decipher what is a problem between two business owners, or what is a problem between two team members, and why things are happening, why there are these kind of, you know, arguments. See, because in neuro-linguistic programming, I'm shifting from tarot to neuro-linguistic programming, there is a concept called Dilt's pyramid, a 7-layered pyramid which starts from environment at the bottom and the purpose at the top. So what happens is when people are not, when a skill when the beliefs of two people are
Yeah.
not matching, when the values of two people are not matching, that is where the conflict starts. And that is possible to be identified using tarot.
What is
So
the actual end result of the conflict like? What I mean, you have been dealing with people. So what is the end result of the majority of the conflicts resolution? Is it a win-win situation, or either you go your way or I go my way kind of a thing?
see, it is difficult for me to answer this question over here because every situation is extremely unique, you know. Now, there was an example where a couple approached me for their own respective career readings. And I said, okay, we'll sit for 1 hour. But what actually ended up into it went into couples counseling, because what came out evidently that people are trying to find their own career paths, but instead they are fighting for the wrong reasons, and their energy is spent in, their domestic hassles. So, or for example, now there is there was a case where a person in mid-20s, he wanted to change a job, and there was a conflicting belief. He had a conflict with his boss. Okay, supposed conflict with his boss, and that's why he said that I want to change my job. My boss is this, my boss is that. I'm like, wait, hold on. Now this person was extremely, idealistic. So according to him, the boss is supposed to be like this, but the boss is not. According to him, that I cannot speak, and then the beliefs that if I open my mouth, then what will they think of me? That's why I'm not able to communicate the proper thing. So I said, look, there may be a job opportunity waiting for you. You can always go for interviews and come back, but do not accept it as yet, because it might be that you are ending up into a bigger trouble. So rather, please understand that your boss is also going through a lot of challenges right now. It's not about you and him, it is about him and his work right now.
Definitely.
So please make sure you communicate with your boss, take some time and tell them, at least give it a try. If this doesn't happen,
Openness
then
and approachable quality has to exist.
yeah, so approachable. The boss was very much approachable, and this chap, after 6 months or something, he calls me again and say that you are right. I went for the interview, but I did not take the job. I spoke to my boss, and he was very happy with me opening up. He's given me the resources, and now I'm also having the promotion.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So this is
See,
the kind of
in a way, you are helping people navigate those tough journeys which they don't find easy solutions for.
Absolutely.
Sometimes out of fear and frustration, these things get embedded inside and they don't get an outlet to erupt like a volcano.
Correct. And there is where now connection with the stakeholders. Now, this is very important because in our project called Life, we worry too much about what will they think. We are worrying too much about all the stakeholders around us. And that's where in project management, there is something called stakeholder analysis, where we try to understand who are going to be important and who are going to help, who have the real power to help us in our goals. Those people
I think on the social media, when people just speak constantly about themselves, it looks like जैसे पूरे देश का बोझ उन्होंने उठाया हुआ है, बाकी सारी दुनिया अलग है, बाकी सारी दुनिया एक तरफ बैठी है, एक आप ही हो जिससे पूरा बोझ उठाया है, किसी को कुछ आता ही नहीं है. So I think each and every one of us is creating awareness through their own way of expertise and knowledge. So it was very nice. I think, Sonal, how was the session when I was not there? Good?
Yeah, ma'am, it was really excellent.
Good.
And
So-
even I came to know about the time management, how to make a to-do list and
Yeah,
everything.
I really love the Pomodoro thing. What is that Pomodoro, na?
Pomodoro
What is
technique.
exactly that? Dividing
What
the
is,
time
yeah,
into-
I do want to know that. What is that?
Okay, so let's talk about the Pomodoro technique. Of course, I'm not an expert. It is there all over the internet. But what you do is you divide your time time into pockets of 30 minutes each.
Okay.
Out of which 5 minutes is for break and 25 minutes is for the work. Okay. Now what you do is, let's say you have a very complex task in your hand. Okay. Let's say you are supposed to finish writing an essay. Okay. And for that essay, you need to read something. So for that, you would require 3 Pomodoros. That is, each Pomodoro of half an hour, including 25-minute plus 5-minute break. So in those 3 Pomodoros, you will be able to complete your essay. But if you want
This is very essential when you teach children. to hurry up during the exam time. So 1 month before, you can use this experiment, Sonal, for the children to
Yes, ma'am.
help them in their writing speed and all.
Correct. If it is as simple as packing a bag, it would be
Huh.
one Pomodoro. It's not complex. You just have to pick up the books according to the timetable and all. It can be, even for educators, it can be done well. If it is a crafting of a entire new syllabus, it would
Yeah.
be like taking 100 Pomodoros, and those 100 Pomodoros can be spread across different days.
Such an efficient knowledge today for all of us. It is, yeah. See how it's not how you have blended the way I had explained to you, how you blended into education, and all these things are actually required in education in the management. So wonderful, wonderful. So I think we end the session over here with all your topics and everything in depth. I will say in depth, definitely. And now we come to the rapid fire round of the grilling of your self.
Okay, bring it on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any time in life, did you ever face connecting with students during exam time or after the results? If
I
yes,
mean, me as a
yeah,
who am I in this case? A
yeah,
student?
yeah. It is about you only, yeah.
So as a student,
No, as a coach.
see, I have not really spoken to any school children or college student, but yeah, I have had an opportunity to serve as a visiting faculty with Tharumal Shani. I was a visiting faculty with MIT for project management also, MIT Shillong. Yeah. So for that, I think, that time the examination was not of prime importance, but for preparing for the exam, of course, when I was, when I was there for the apprenticeship program with a global IT company, there they had their quarterly assignments and all. So there they used to be, so these are young apprentices, they used to be a bit scared as to what will be there in the exam, what will be there and all. So I used to tell all my students, and I was teaching project management, and they were overwhelmed by all complicated definitions in earned value management and time management and all. I used to tell them that, look, the first thing is that whenever you are being taught, English is a universal language now. So whenever, first of all, whenever you are being taught anything, okay, convert that into your mother tongue and write down your own examples in the notebook. Because when you are going to shuffle your notes while preparing, it is your handwritten examples are going to be useful rather than going through the entire video lectures. And this is my message to everybody, that even though today we are in this stage where you have access to all the video recordings, those video recordings are are not going to be of any use when it comes to end moment preparations. Am I right? So that case, even when if you have missed the lecture, even while you are going through the video lecture, maintain your own journal. Do not undermine, do not give less importance to writing your own notes. You may write it, you may draw pictures to make you understand better, because many people understand the pictures more than words. It is completely fine, and that's how that's how the diagrammatic explanation is there, right? So I used to give this kind of guidance a lot to those apprentices, and the same can be very well given to students as well at any age, I think.
Wonderful. So are there any embarrassing moments during your coaching or while coaching someone with a client? If yes, what are they like?
Well, embarrassing, I wouldn't say embarrassing, but those were emotionally painful for me. And that is where I decided that I would like to focus more on the working professionals in business. So I'm sorry, I can't really discuss those examples here because of
No, just
confidentiality.
I'm not saying
But
that you discuss in depth,
yeah,
but yeah, in short, you can just describe what people
yes,
go through, like, yeah.
people do go through a lot. Maybe somebody is an orphan and they were trying to find out more about their birth parents, which is practically not possible because that person is full grown adult. Or somebody who has faced a lot of turmoil or trauma in the childhood. And when I say painful, there has been, in my early coaching days when I used to take these kind of sessions, there have been instances where I have end up myself getting drained and ending up weeping after the session. So these are not embarrassing, I must say, because I'm just a human being. Even I got affected by listening to those people. Okay, speaking of embarrassing situation, now this is when I was working as a project manager. Because of some miscommunication, I gave some feedback to somebody, and the CCO, the Chief Commercial Officer, that time, or I think he was a CFO or not, I don't remember now. That person got so furious, he started firing the other person's left, right, and center, only to realize that actually that was not the case. And this was embarrassing for me because I felt that I should have, made sure that I had all the information. But I couldn't do anything because when I was asked, I just gave it whatever information I had. So this is what happens, the gaps in understanding what I mentioned in one of my slides.
So I
That
think through your experiences, you have taken these kind of things. Yeah, this is what is most required.
experiences are biggest teachers,
Wonderful. So I think, do you have a smartphone?
Yes, I do.
So what are your must-have smartphone apps that you will never want to remove?
Must have smartphone apps is number one, a camera, because sometimes what happens, you don't have time to write down everything. You can click a snapshot and then note down. Then something, I have the Pomodoro focus to do timer over here. See this? It looks like this. Focus to do timer. It helps me manage my Pomodoro, although I rarely use it. Then there is a to-do list application where there is a checklist kind of thing. Whenever I go out for shopping, even for vegetables, 2 kilo potatoes, half a kilo tomato, all these things, I write it down. And once I do a tick tick, it automatically gets scored off. So that is there. That is a must to have. And of course, WhatsApp is a must to have these days because all my business
Definitely.
communications happen over there.
That I think nobody has. Wonderful. So any one of your hidden talents that we all don't know, जो छिपे हुए हैं कुछ?
Hidden talents, okay. Something which I need to get back in my life is I compose instrumental music. I used to do that a lot when I was a student. And I have my synthesizer now because my renovation is going on. I'll be bringing that up. I also have a little tongue drum over there, my singing bowls, and also the tongue drum can also create a very beautiful music. Although it's just like a child's play, but it's meditative. So yeah, that could be one hidden talent, you can say.
Wonderful, wonderful. So tomorrow is a Saturday, and what is a typical Saturday night like for you?
My typical Saturday night, I will play with my cat. I think some of you heard the cat mewing and screaming sometime back, but he's just moving around. So that's almost like a baby in the house. So I play with my cat. Me and my brother, we play with the cat. Or I will, plan for the content, or I'll pull out my tarot cards. I will do some random tarot reading. My brother is
That
my
means
biggest
you are a pet lover also.
Yes, I'm a pet
Okay,
lover.
wonderful. So I need to buy a pet now soon. All my people, my team members mostly have pets.
If you want a cat, then you can come to me. I'm not a dog person.
Oh, wonderful. My community member has a dog. Dog, na? She has a dog.
Okay.
So sometimes they are so used to the sessions and all that they have to sit on the laps with some of them.
My cat has jumped in some of my sessions actually in front of the camera. So I have to tell them, but my participants enjoyed that. They say, oh, bring him, bring him, bring him. I said, fine. So
Wonderful. So I think overall it was a very productive session and insightful also. And I think most of the things that you spoke about are actually needed in the education, and we need to inculcate these skills as early as possible. I won't say 3-4 years, but yes, at that age of 8, 9, 10, kids should be made aware of these things, what you have spoken about. These are the most required things that are going to help them after 10 years now.
not just
So,
after 10 years, but even to manage their own assignments in college where they
yes,
start
yes.
getting that independence
Yes,
gradually.
definitely. That was my intention of bringing you here to create awareness and not only cooperate and how these skills can be infused in the education also to create a better system, because children mostly when they grow up, ज़्यादातर क्या होता है science वाले कहते हैं हमें नहीं लेना है science, we want to go into the arts, and when they venture to the art subjects are very new for them. So these things should be inculcated as soon as possible so that they are used to these kind of words and skills that are needed as they keep growing. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And any message to the audience that you would like to give?
I would say use time wisely. Short and
Why?
sweet.
Why?
Because as I mentioned, that time once lost is lost. See, even today, whenever they say, okay, you get a free lunch,
Definitely.
you are spending your time. going there to the venue, spending your
They
money
say,
also going there.
I think they say that if you're giving someone a part of your life, sharing a part of your life is the biggest thing more than any currency value. And
Absolutely.
now when people say, time nahi hai yaar, bahut busy hai. So people are busy doing nothing. And even then they say time nahi hai. So I don't know what is actually time.
So time is that intangible, invisible resource which we all have in limited amounts. The amount of time which I have will be the same amount which a CEO of an organization has.
So I think this 1 hour of time that you have given to Metamorphosis definitely will create wonders for all. Not me, not only you, me and Sonal also. We are actually giving 1 hour for creating awareness and bringing a change. And definitely change makers are born this way. Thank you so much, Mitakshara. It was a wonderful session with a beautiful smile of yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sonal. Thank you, thank you everybody
Thank you,
for
Sonal, for
bringing me
being here.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.